All right, Nick, let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks. The draft is right around the corner, and I'm sure a lot of people are wanting to know what exactly are the Seahawks thinking going into this draft. Now, while we might not know, we've done some research, and there's some good indications of what the Seahawks might be thinking here, Nick. So we're going to get into this article here today, and I think the Seahawks fans will find this very, very interesting.
Yeah, Miles, I agree. Based on the feedback we got from our other Seattle videos, I think fans of the Seahawks will love the latest reports about where Seattle is looking in the upcoming NFL draft. But before we get into that report, Seahawks fans, we want to hear from you guys, as we always love to, in the comment section below. We really appreciate your thoughts and comments on all things related to Seattle. And that leads me into the question for you guys today. Look, obviously, draft a few short days away. It's not that long, not that long to go. But we want to hear from you. Give us your favorite Seahawks draft pick of all time. Doesn't have to be the best steal. Doesn't even have to be the best player they ever drafted. Just the favorite draft pick the Seahawks ever pulled off. Let us know who that guy is in the comment section below. And make sure you stick around to the end of today's video to hear a word from the partner of today's video, and that's Neuro. All right, Miles, what you got? What's the latest out of Seattle?
Yeah, Nick. So we think the Seahawks have been doing a lot of really great stuff lately. They've made a lot of progress in this. And I don't think it ever hit rebuild. They move on from Russell Wilson, hit the ground running, do great last season. I think they're getting prepared to be even better this coming season. And let's get on into the article here, Nick. This is over on ESPN.com and talking about what we're hearing about the Seahawks per the draft. Okay, and the Seahawks might have been checking in on quarterbacks, but a source in Seattle said expect defensive line help over quarterback at the number 5 overall pick, Nick. That would seem to point to a belief that either Will Anderson Jr. or Jalen Carter will be available, a situation that is highly likely at this point. And here's one more nugget. If those two aren't available, Seattle also has been told that Seattle loves cornerback Devon Witherspoon. So there's a lot of defensive options on the board that Seattle seems to have fallen in love with in this draft process, Nick. What do you think about these guys? I think these would be some pretty good fits for Seattle. I want to hear your thoughts on this, though.
Yeah, they're absolutely perfect. Because look, the one problem that the Seahawks had last season, it's kind of weird because Seattle's been so good defensively for a number of years, but it was the defense, specifically in the front seven. They were third worst in rush defense, seventh worst in total defense, eighth. They give the eighth most points in the entire NFL. Not good. They made the playoffs on the back of Geno Smith, the running game in the offense, right? So it kind of makes sense to focus heavily on the draft on the defensive side of the ball. I love Jalen Carter. All the comments and questions, concerns regarding his physical, preparing for the combine, preparing for the pro day, all that kind of stuff. It is kind of a red flag, but the dude's tape doesn't lie. He's a phenomenal player, phenomenal athlete. And Pete Carroll and company always seem to get the best out of these guys, especially when they seem to have questionable character issues coming out of college. They go to Seattle, those problems seem to disappear. So I think Jalen Carter is a great fit. Will Anderson's just an amazing football player. Wherever he goes next season, he'll be a dominant force, especially in the pass rushing game. So if Seahawks go that direction, I think it's a great pick as well. But I want to take a step back and go back to one of the comments you made, is that the Seahawks, there were some rumors that were looking at quarterback potentially for this number 5 overall pick. I listened to the herd over on FS1 last Friday, I believe it was, sometime before the weekend, and DK Metcalf was on, and he was talking about Geno Smith, talking about how Geno Smith in preseason training camp and by week 8 had won over the entire locker room. The entire locker room was behind this guy. And the fact that there are reports out of Seattle now that says, look, the Seahawks are fully focused on defense. They want to go D-line, but they really love a DB if the other guys aren't there. To me, that's a really smart move by Seattle, because one of the things Pete Carroll and company for the past 10, 11 years or so is they've always been really in tune with the locker room and the dynamic. That's something they really focus on a lot more than other teams in the NFL. And they build a really strong locker room, a really strong core dynamic, a spirited core, if you will, with the football team and just how they run that organization. And going quarterback, number 5 overall, even if you love Richardson, even if you love Levis or whoever it is at that position, would send a message to the locker room that we don't really care about you anymore. We're focusing on a completely different direction. And I just don't think that's how Seahawks rolls. That's not what makes them successful. They're very successful because they believe in that collegial environment. They get everybody on the same page. And the fact that Metcalf came out and said, listen, we all love Geno Smith. The locker room's 100% behind that guy. And now we're seeing that the Seahawks are coming out and saying, listen, hey, we're fully focusing on the defense in the upcoming NFL draft. To me, is a really smart move by the Seahawks organization, because I think they'd be tempted to go young quarterback, right? Because Geno Smith is up there a little bit. But again, focusing on defense, keeping the locker room, upgrading a key weakness that was part of their team last year, I think it's just the smart move for the franchise.
Yeah, I think especially at this number 5 spot, Nick, they can get a defensive stalwart to be the star of this defense for years to come, like a guy like Bobby Wagner was and now is again back with the Seahawks. So, I mean, it seems like the logical fit. They have their safeties locked up. They have two young guys at corner who are very, very interesting in Kobe Bryant and Tariq Woolen. And then you look at the defensive line, definitely a weak spot. So I think a guy like Anderson or a guy like Carter could really fill up a good spot there. And then even like they said, if those two guys are not there, a corner would really fit this third corner spot. Someone could move around, be the slot corner. I think that would be a really good move. But like you said, offensive side of the ball seems really good. I like Geno Smith, and I like Geno Smith probably better than anyone that they're going to be having at the number 5 overall draft pick, especially. Now, if we're talking top 2, that's a different story, but they're at number 5, and they're not going to trade up to that point at anytime soon. It doesn't seem that way. So I think this would be the best option for Seattle. If I'm a Seattle fan, I'm excited to see a big-time blue-chip player come to my defense.
Yeah, Miles, and just one more thing. Look, the Seahawks right now have been rumored to end negotiations to try and get Poona Ford, their defensive lineman, back into the fold, but Ford wants a lot of money. One of the ways that could help this negotiations along to get Ford to come back to Seattle on the cheap are these things going on in the media sphere about the Seahawks going D-line in a few weeks. If the Seahawks do get a guy in the first round draft, in the first round of the draft, who plays D-line, Poona Ford's going to be like, hey, I'm out of a job. So at this point, I can also see this also benefiting the Seahawks from the negotiations perspective as well. And plus, even if they get Poona Ford on the cheap, they can still draft another defense lineman as well. So all in all, this is a really great move by the Seattle Seahawks, focusing on the front 7 and mainly defensive side of the ball in the upcoming draft. All right, Miles, we would like to give a special thanks to our partner in today's video, Neuro.
That's right, Nick. And I want you to go with me on a journey really fast. I want you to imagine this. It's 4th and goal in the big game, Nick. Your team is relying on you to make the big-time game-winning play. I know you've been in this situation before, Nick. The stadium is roaring. The clock is ticking. The game is on the line. But if only in that moment you were able to have some Neuro Gum. Neuro Gum will help you stay concentrated, and it gives you a burst of energy without a nasty crash.
That's right, Miles. Neuro has thoughtfully curated ingredients and does endless lab testing, which means that you can reach the right state of mind safely and consistently. That's the most important part. It gives you a clean burst of energy and focus without the jitters of coffee or any of those other energy drinks.
That's right, Nick. And if you click our sponsor link in the description below, you can enjoy energy, calm, and focus whenever you need it.